instead of just giving a very boring vector to add onto our position, let's create some new vectors. But before this, let's just keep things tidy. So I'm just gonna write, this would be our mask, ring mask. Yep, yep, ring mask, mask rings, and let's have a look. And I'm just gonna, oops, do that. And so instead of, because I want the whites to come in first, but instead of baking down the value here to our destination min and max, I'm just gonna multiply that with this. Maybe something like that. Okay. So the reason why I reverse this is that I just want the whites to be in the center. I just basically the impact point, I want it to be white. So there you go. All right, so this is our mask rings. And now, so instead of this vector that points up, I want to be able to create some vectors that point outwards from our impact point. So the way we do this is, since the impact points are literally on the origin, we can just take our position points, our point position, and so if you just plug that into our normals just to visualize that, you can see that we've got vectors now pointing away from the origin. Cool. All I want to do though is, because as the points get further away from the origin, the vectors, the length of these vectors become much longer. So I just want it to be a normalized value. That way we have more control over what we want to feed into our deformation. So if you just quickly see what it looks like when we do this, plug that in there, mask rings, color this black, and then plug that into our position, we can see something interesting. So now we're seeing a bit of a pushing away of our. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna create a mix node. A mix node is like a lerp node. This is input 1, put it in there and here. So all I'm doing is just interpolating between two of our initial position and this new position that we're giving it. So you can see that we're squeezing some of these points into rings, converging them. The reason why that's happening is again with our mask. So anything with a value of 1, we're pushing those points, pushing them based on this vector that we set here. So as you can see, we're moving away from the origin, and anything that's black will remain in place. As you can see, nothing's happening there. Awesome. So next, what we want to be able to do is move the whole thing down, because at the moment they're just moving away from the origin, from the impact point. We kind of want them to move down as well. So all right, so all I want to do now is, now that we have this new vector, the points away from the origin. That thing. Oopsies. So this thing. All I want to do is make some of these vectors point downwards as well. So the way I did that is I want to keep the vectors on the x and the z axes. So if I split this vector to float, and then what we want to do here is float to vector, and just plug all of these in like that. And essentially, we're essentially just doing the same thing. If you have a look on here and here, nothing changed. So literally the same thing. But what if we add something down here? For example, constant. Oops. We just add this with a constant add. And so now everyone's going down all at the same time. However, if we use the mask rings instead, now you see what's happening up here. So all I want to do is maybe multiply constant this thing and make it go downwards instead. So now that we see something interesting is happening, we're getting some kind of crater, but they're all kind of going down almost at the same height. Well, they are going down at the same height. And another thing is that these rings, I want them to just fall off to their original, to our initial state, basically. So I'm kind of gonna be not gonna do whatever we, because this is way too sharp. I can see the circular shape. I kind of want it to be more natural with some fall off and blend between our initial state, which is this. Which is this. So what we can do for that is we can use the same length this thing. If we put this into a color stop, we actually have this mask, which it's a radial mask that is from the center, from the origin, from the impact point, and goes outwards. So we can actually just use this as another mask for our deformation. So if you just multiply this whole vector now with this mask, you can see that we're having some nice fall off onto our deformation. And to add more control over how this whole thing falls off, we can put down a ramp parameter and just say this is the crater fall off. Spline. We have to jump up, raise that, and maybe let's start off with round. So now we have something that kind of dissipates as it goes away from the impact point. Awesome, that's pretty cool. So right now you could kind of see that the deformation looks, the rings look way too equal, way too it's too circular as well. I kind of want to break it up. So one of the ways that we can break it up is pretty simple. So I'm just gonna put that here, delete this. So instead of just computing the length of our position points, we can deform our input position first. So in here, we can deform this first. So all I'm gonna do is add some noise onto our position before we calculate the length. So let's put down the T noise, set this to be a 3D noise, and put it down here. Now we have some noise up thing. And if now we check our crater mask, not force, but CD, and plug the length to our deformed position, we're slightly breaking up our masks now. So we just increase the position. Now we have a less perfect circle. So that's what I did to break up that mask. Let's have a look and see if we can get to a better place with this. That looks great. So now if we go back to what our deformation looks like. Ooh, that's interesting. So all I'm gonna do, just to have some more control, bring this down some more, maybe add multiple constant, just to multiply constant to increase this a bit. Cool. So this is probably way too much. Maybe we just need a little bit of deformation. Awesome, that's looking pretty rad. Maybe some more noise. Okay, that looks great. So it's a bit sharp now. We're getting a lot of these stretched out faces. So the way I solved that was just to create a smooth SOP right after and set this to curvature dominant. So I'm getting some nice, a better looking ground deformation. Right. Now I want to see what the hell did I do here. Okay, so after adding it, multiply that 0.2, multiply that with that thing. Yeah. I copy this part here. Okay, so we're getting somewhere with this, and it's not looking too bad and not looking too shabby. At least I think so. Another thing that I want to say is that we can actually just plug this crater fall off profile into here, and that shouldn't be any issue. Just cleaning this up a bit and put all the way down there. And awesome. So another thing I want to do is maybe I just want to emphasize that dip, that crater look. So the way I want to do that is pretty quite similar to this. All I want to do is split this again, vector to float, put that in here, then put float to vector again, put all these into its place, and with this, all I'm going to do is multiply. Nope. I want to add. Oh, not this node. Add node. Add this with some value. So all I'm going to do is create a constant and maybe -1. So if you see this plug in here, because we don't have any masks applied to this -1 value, it's literally just bringing everything down. We don't want that. We want to use some mask for this, and that mask will be this crater fall off profile. So now if you check this out, we've got this dip that we've always wanted. Perfect. Just gonna bring that up. Maybe this slightly less. Cool. And this one will be 6.7. All right. So that's looking pretty good. So that's pretty much how most of this stuff works. On the original, I've added quite a bit more some more roughness and cool patterns on the noise. So this is that shape of the noise that we were doing earlier, and these are the rings. So that's pretty much the gist of that setup. All of these are just for shader things. And then it gets smooth right after. So I will quickly talk about how I took all these shaders. So one of them is just literally just being a noise, and that noise is just an alligator noise, a T noise. Fitting that into 0 to 1, and then with the masks that we've already got, like these rings, all I'm doing is multiplying this noise with that ring. So this is the ring noise. This complement function just takes that 0 to 1 value and invert that. And then I applied some ramp into it just to squeeze in the details, all those lines, and then multiplying that with our noise. So we've got essentially just these rings just these rings, but slightly more broken up. And then multiplying that again, because I don't want anything to do with these parts of the ground. So I'm just multiplying that with the crater fall off. So if we see this now we've got this. So these are basically the edges, all the scorched stuff, how I created that mask for the shader. And yeah, that's pretty much most of it. Pretty cool.